Rise and shine, it's a brand new day with Mo and News. It's time to have your say. She's got the scoop, the stories, all the latest trends. Mo's got the news, let's hear it. My dear friends, from politics to showbiz, no story's too small. Mo covers it all. She's got the inside call, her voice so smooth, like honey in the summer sun. With Mo on the mic, you know the news is always fun. Mornings with Mo, the best newsy news in the world. With her style so classic and her stories unfurled, from morning till night, she's got us in the know. Turn on your radio, let Mo's newsy news flow.
Hello. I did promise that I would show Wilfred, but he is in full attack kitten mode. He does not want to be held. Okay. I will definitely probably have to invest in a cat cam that just follows him, because Fry was not as mobile, but Wilfred is in attack kitten mode. And the other cats are like, ew, they're touching it. They brought it home. What's going on here? So we are keeping him in my room for the most part to get him used to the chaos that is my family. And then, as per usual, thank you, Wolfram, for doing all of your mod stuff. I greatly appreciate my mods. They are so good at putting up links. Reindeer, good morning, and Jeff Clark and Jeffrey Montgomery. And Wolfram, good morning. Celestial Force, Nanny Goat, Squid Pro Quo, Sandy Marcus, Alice G, Phoenix Fire, and hey, Joe, welcome everyone. So we do have some slight politics today just because of what is going on, but there are more other countries, so I really don't have an opinion, good, bad, or other. But welcome everyone, welcome Kim. So our first story is that unfortunately it does look like Iran's president, Ibrahim Raisi, his helicopter went down. So I think they did confirm him passed away. Now, as far as I understand, the little I understand about Iran, I thought that more the mullahs were in charge of things. So I do not know, but it looks like the Mesopotamia is going to get worse if there's any, tampering or anything like that. Let's see. Dubai, United Arab Emirates rescuers on Monday found a helicopter that was carrying Iran's president, Ibrahim Raisi, the country's foreign minister, and other officials that apparently crashed in the mountainous area northwest of Iran the day before. As the sun rose Monday, rescuers saw the helicopter from a distance some 2 kilometers or 1.25 miles at the head of the Iranian Crest Society. Pierre Hossein Kolovid told state media he did not elaborate, and the officials have been missing at that point for over 12 hours. So I think that they have come out and said that they believe that everyone has passed away, but look for the Mesopotamia to get worse and weirder. Because, it's a day that ends in Y. The incident comes after all of the Mesa stuff. You know what? You guys can read it, but it looks like the Mesopotamia continues. In other news, though, more important news, someone had a 3D printed wedding dress, and I'm here for it, but it looks uncomfortable as all get out. And I mean, half a dozen of one, 6 of the other. That it's going to be played different angles by different people. So it is just all the crazy. It does seem a little interesting after we've got a lot of people. Populism has become a terrible word. I have thoughts, but I might start a different channel if I want to get into politics and all that craziness, because Mornings with Mo is kind of the strange news. And welcome, Shizzy's Raiders. I'm glad you found me. I have no idea what's going on with YouTube, but that's just, again, a day that ends in Y. Oh, for the love of all that is holy, I have put you on silent. All right, so the world's first 3D printed wedding dress took a month to create. Now, there is mathing in this, but I think it's just the bodice bit. I don't think it's the entire fabric, but we shall read on. It was her something new. Mariana Pavni walked down the aisle in a custom gown that marked the big day, not just for the bride, but for fashion history too. Dutch designer Iris van Harpen used a 3D printer to craft the lawyer's New Age wedding dress, a first of its kind. Welcome, Zach and Kevin. Thank you for coming over. Cindy, welcome. Quote, this was really a dream project for me because 3D printed fashions are in museums and on runways. But having it worn by someone on the most special day of her life, I think that's something else. Van Herpen told Women's Wear Daily. The fantastical bodice of the innovative dress encased the bride's torso and reached across her décolletage. Or you can just say the top of her cleavage. I mean, we can church it up. So I don't know about you guys, but this looks like something that I would take off in about 5 minutes because, you can't move and you're getting stabbed in the face, with it. But, oh, thank you, my mini me. Well, there you go. I be safe and oh, really, Baker? I did not know. Interesting. And you guys follow Baker. He has been doing so many things with the Karen Reed case. He knows all or most of the background, and I'm just coming in as the person that knows nothing. So it kind of works out. There are no seams, and you couldn't do that with a typical pattern. So it took 600 hours to actualize and 41 hours of printing to yield a file size of 216 megabytes. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have 6 kids for nothing, but I'm about a klutz, and I could imagine, you know, bride unalives herself falling on 3D printed sharp neck piece. So, I mean, it is really beautiful. It's invocative. I think it looks like something that you would find in Rivendell, but I'm a weird Lord of the Rings person, so if I ever look like her, I will wear that, but again, only for 5 minutes. The couturier is known for crafting delicately alien pieces from 3D printer-friendly stiff synthetic material. The process can take hours, but it's worth it. Her iconic 2011 piece ensemble is also known as the skeleton dress and appeared in the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Women Dressing Women exhibit. There's actually a Dear government, I would like to study the weird things that we fund and global warming. Send me $2 billion. I will write up some type of report. So the bride underwent a 3D scan of her body to ensure perfect fit, as well as multiple fittings for the gown beneath, which was pleated by hand. I mean, that as a person who really lightly has gone into garment making and not well, uh, that hand pleating is so tedious. It's so detail oriented. It looks like it has the honeycomb design. And oh yes, Captain Kern. I am going to try to send people to you. Possibly, I couldn't remember how you spelled your name, and apparently how to spell captain. Which, again, it's a Monday. So there you go. If you'd like a one of the kind, Galadriel dress, I would say ask her, but I think if it goes to the price, oh no, they're not telling the price. But I mean, she looked beautiful. I hope she had a lovely wedding. Her husband to be looks a little confused, but I mean, he's there. So, okay, the husband looks like he's just an extra in this. He's like, oh, that chick's wearing a dress. He doesn't even. But look, I didn't do the photos, but sure, her husband's behind her as as possible. Oh, I mean, it is a beautiful dress. I'm not lying. It's just the way her husband or husband to be is there, and he's just there. So, and 3D printing has come a long way. Apparently, during the early bits, they weren't as flexible, and people would get impaled. But there you go. So, if you want a one of the kind antler dress, or just to print something that you would wear to a Renaissance fair, it can be done. Probably. Look, I am a grammar spelling outlaw. You are here to keep me reined in because I would do all the run-on sentence and making up my own words. So Zach is here as the cabinet of my run-on sentence making. So there you go. If you'd like a dress, I'm sure it will cost you a gajillion and $12. In other news, not a great day for watching baseball, but he seems to be okay, and it looks like he got, well, stitches or at least a ball out of the whole incident. Mookie Betts' foul ball strikes an 8-year-old boy in the eye at a Dodgers home game. Poor guy. An 8-year-old Dodgers fan took a foul ball to the face in a scary moment during Friday's game against the Reds at Dodger Stadium. The incident occurred in the fourth inning when Mookie Betts sent a screamer into a stands that struck Nathan Sanchez in the right eye, the family told KTLA. The Sanchez family had been sitting between first base and home plate about midway up the section. The ball struck the young Dodgers fan and went into the crowd. Poor guy. As soon as the ball hits him, all I hear is my eye, Daisy Sanchez, Nathan's mother told the television station. There had been a doctor sitting nearby who immediately attended Nathan, and the stadium security and English and medical personnel arrived moments later. So I'm glad he got the check on that because brain injuries, it is not those are nothing to play with. And thanks. It is a bit like having a newborn that wants to attack your foot if it starts spazzing out. So, Wilfred or Captain Dingus, because none of the kids can say Wilfred. They're like, can we just name him Captain Dingus? And I think Captain Dingus is going to fit more than Wilfred. It will be his proper name. The family had been hoping to catch the foul ball when they went to the game, and Nathan brought his glove with him. So I'm glad they checked him out. I hope that, he signed Mookie Betts, but a fellow spectator had snatched up the foul ball that struck the boy and returned it to the family, which surprised the Sanchez family. But they were disappointed about the lack of communication from the Dodgers following the incident. Nathan received some stickers and a button, but they would like to have gotten the ball signed. Quote, we just want our ball signed, the ball that hit him, at least a signature, Yeah, I would think that would be like, hey, don't sue us. Also, here, we signed a ball. The Dodgers have not commented on the matter, and the MLB has taken steps to try to limit the risk of foul balls to fans, which included extending the protective net behind home plate. And an NBC News report found that there have been at least 808 reports of injuries to fans due to baseballs flying into the crowd from 2012 to 2019. Well, I mean, those are about Boeing odds. So, Yeah, I think look, God bless this little boy who wants to watch baseball, but it is the longest daggone game in the entire world, and it is not for people that have ADHD. That's probably what it's going to be. He's a bit of a mama's boy, to be for real. If he walks away from me and then realizes he's been left alone, he's crying. So, in odd news, but I guess I never knew this. So, just in case you want to know and, one of your family members gets injured, apparently families are taking patients off of life support too soon after traumatic brain injuries, which kind of goes with the baseball thing. But apparently, don't flick the off switch too soon. I did not know that this was something we were studying, but okay. Many patients who have died after traumatic brain injuries may have survived and recovered if their families take them off life support. Now, the problem is that I think having almost had this situation be a reality for me, you really have to talk to your family member. I had talked to my family member. They did not want to be kept on life support if this happens. But, it's not an easy choice to make. And I'm glad I didn't have to make it. Um, Researchers from Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School, and other universities analyzed, quote, potential clinical outcomes for patients with TBI or traumatic brain injury who were removed from life support, according to a press release. The study included 1,329 patients who were treated in 18 trauma centers across the US over a 7.5-year period. Using a mathematical model, the researchers compared patients for whom life support was withdrawn to similar patients who were kept on life support. Among the group who life support was not withdrawn, more than 40% recovered at least some independence, according to the press release. I mean, this is a really, really personal thing. And goodness gracious, the amount of money it costs, I mean, these are all factors. So I wish doctors would really, really explain a little bit more and have this conversation with your loved ones. I'm glad I'd had that conversation, but it really, this is probably a punch in the gut to the families that took their, family member off life support. So let's see. Researchers also discovered the notion of remaining in a vegetative state was an unlikely outcome 6 months after injury. When designing the study, the team didn't know what to expect, according to study author Yelena Bodin, PhD of the Department of Neurological Center for Neurotechnology and Neurorecovery at Massachusetts General Hospital. It is a Monday. Quote, our anecdotal experience was that some families are told their loved ones have no chance for recovery. They would never walk, talk, or work, or have a meaningful relationship again. Yet they chose not to discontinue life support, and their loved one made a remarkable recovery, she told Fox News Digital. On the other hand, clinicians are under a lot of pressure to make an early prognosis and do not want to commit someone to a life that would never be acceptable to them. So it could be that those patients who have passed away after life support was withdrawn would have had very significant impairments otherwise. Yeah, that's the thing. It's called practicing medicine because you don't quite know everything. In there is inherent, uncertainty. This is why, they have you sign a release because they don't want, they don't want to get in trouble. Again, if we hadn't turned into such a litigious society, this probably wouldn't be an issue. Doctors are in CYA mode because the amount of malpractice insurance is just insanity. Quote, I think there are two stories here, said Bodian. One is that some patients with traumatic brain injury who died because life support was withdrawn may have recovered. But the other is that many would have died even if life support was continued. A patient's prognosis after a serious traumatic brain injury is highly uncertain, she noted. Sometimes patients with the most devastating injuries survive and make meaningful recoveries. The problem, Bowden said, is that healthcare providers lack the tools required to determine which patients with devastating injuries will recover and to what extent they'll recover and how long that will take. Dr. Mark Sigel, a clinical professor of medicine at NYU Langone Medical Center and Fox News medical contributor, was not involved in the research, but said it was a very important study. Quote, previous research shows a high-level recovery from a mild TBI and significant recovery percentage even with a moderate to severe injury. This is where neuroplasticity comes in. So your brain can learn to use different parts of itself if there are injuries. From what I've heard, after a head trauma, the brain may swell, and use of steroids and sometimes even surgery, where the top of the skull is removed, can be used to decrease pressure on the brain and increase chances of full recovery, he continued. Rehabilitation is also critical. All these tools should be given a chance to work in most cases. Based on studies' findings, Bowden recommended that clinicians should be, quote, very cautious with irreversible decisions like withdrawing life support in the days following a traumatic brain injury. Ideally, if I was in charge of everything, I would have like a patient liaison. As much as I hate bureaucracy, I think a patient liaison, maybe a retired nurse or something like that, that can explain all of the medical jargon, that can, kind of cut through, because when you are in this space, it is like trying to drink water from a fire hose. They throw a lot of things at you, and you're trying to think, and you're also, dealing with the trauma of your loved one being hurt. If we could have so they do it in the UK, and I think it's something we need to have here, but their officers have like a family liaison officer that kind of takes what the police are learning and watches the emotional health of the family. And I think we need that in, doctoring. So if I win as president, we're taking away, well, HR, and we're making we're making patient liaisons. I think that would be a great thing. And, a lot of people would like to volunteer. If you would like to do it as a service, I think it would be a great idea. I think there needs to be someone that can kind of explain all of this stuff, just like we have a victim's advocate in court. I wish we had a, patient's advocate that always would come and, even with a complex medical diagnosis, you often don't hear all the things that a doctor tells you. So I take notes when I go to the doctor because I'm too type A to function. But really, I think that would be great. And I hope that this article doesn't hurt anyone that, had to make that terrible decision. But it looks like, definitely be an advocate for yourself and your family as far as medical diagnoses go. We saw from the Maya case and a bunch of other cases, or even personal experience, that you have to advocate for yourself. You have lived in your body for however many years. You know how it functions. Don't be afraid to tell doctors that this isn't working for you, that, something is not so great and you would like, to change. In other news, someone that will probably need to change for 20 so years, echoing January 6th threats. Seriously? No, he was attacked. How did he get in Nancy Pelosi's house? But the man who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer and attempting kidnapping has been sentenced. I mean, sir, for your service and getting Nancy Pelosi's husband pantsless on a body cam, we salute you. Allegedly in Minecraft, we do not salute, any sort of political shenanigans, but David DePape, 44, the man who attacked former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, with a hammer when he burst into their San Francisco, California home in 2022, has been sentenced to 30 years in prison. As Long Crime previously reported, the federal jury found him guilty of 2 charges, including attempted kidnap of a federal official. Oh, I guess he was asking for Nancy, but I was like, how is Nancy Pelosi's husband up? It is a Monday. It just takes me a little. And assaulting an immediate family member of a federal official with intent to retaliate against the official for performance of their duties. Prosecutors had initially requested 40 years, and his defense attorney asked for 14. Attached to the supplemental memorandum filed before U.S. District Judge Jacqueline Corley delivered DePape his sentence, former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi emphasized how terrifying the ordeal was for her and her family. Nancy, go into your Sub-Zero refrigerator and pull out your $10 ice cream and then eat some, because you left a door unlocked. How in the heck does, she has all the security. How does this man break in? I'd be, ticked off that my security was insanity. DePape had called, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" on the day of the husband's assault, and filled her with great fear and deep pain. But your eyebrows are still double eyebrowed, so you got your eyebrows here. You look shocked, anywho. Yes, it is. Oh, I hate being on hold. You are an important customer. Please wait. And absolutely, absolutely. No, that's totally fine. I think that having these conversations, it was odd at the time when I asked my first husband, like, I think we were watching a movie and I was like, "What would you want to be, kept on or taken off?" And he's like, "I don't want to live, in a hospital on machines." And thankfully, I didn't have to make that choice. But, you know, yeah, this is, look, tell me what Nancy Pelosi has done for her district. I'll wait. Despite Paul Pelosi's courageous efforts to save his own life, whether it was by trying to escape down an elevator, calling the police, or then asking DePape to go outside, Nancy Pelosi told the court. Nonetheless, her husband had nearly been unalived in 18 months after the attack. Signs of DePape's invasion were still impossible to avoid in their home. Ma'am, look, I would be afraid if a weird guy, you know, came into my house with a hammer and, tried to start some stuff. But this is, he didn't come in with a force multiplier. Uh, it went well. And I will tell you, well, I don't know what the boys did with the thing, but I got this cat thing that purrs and did a little heartbeat. And I will say that he seemed to have an easier ride home than I was anticipating. Mr. Mo was like, "Did you buy a cat heartbeat doll?" And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't want him to be afraid in the car." He's like, "So how are we going overboard or not?" And I was like, possibly. Yeah, you have an elevator and $17 ice cream. I wanna hear none of your complaining, ma'am. Our house remains a heartbreaking crime scene. Then move. I'm confused as to where they are paupers and can't move because, if some weird guy attacked me in this house with a hammer and I was pantsless and it was all on, I would sell this house if I were, as rich as Nancy Pelosi. The former longtime House Speaker said her husband still suffers from dizziness, fainting spells, and regular bruising. Ma'am, he is drunk as a skunk. He got caught for DUI with like 3 gallons of rosé, okay? Let's not attribute to, trauma what is, booze related. A Mo, another Moism. So this is the gentleman, and I think that everyone tried to do a deep dive, and no one quite knows why he went there. It doesn't seem to make sense. He seems to be both left wing and right wing on his Facebook. As soon as things happen, 4chan goes and gets all the dirt off of everyone. But none of this really seemed to make sense. It just, it never seemed to make sense. Paul does not want to undergo revisiting it with a doctor's advice, and discussing the vicious assault would only renew his trauma, she said, so he is not going to get therapy. A fear of a copycat attack is still palatable for her. Again, get better service. Yes. JW, I feel like this is a total Mondayism. At the trial, DePape admitted that he intended to break into Nancy Pelosi's house and kneecap her, hold her hostage. He confessed during a trial to battering Paul Pelosi with a hammer after police arrived at the house during the October 28th, 2022 invasion. DePape was an adherent to QAnon conspiracy theories, and his defense attorneys relied on him being swept up in its cause for leniency and sympathy from the jurors. Paul Pelosi testified that he had a quote unquote tremendous shock when DePape, who came in equipped with zip ties, ropes, a camera, computer, tablet. Sir, what were you taking in? I am so confused. He's like, you know what? I got zip ties. I got a cat toy. I'm going to get some of that ice cream. I'm going to take my laptop. I mean, okay. Quote, he said, looking at him, looking at the hammer and the ties, he knew he had to stay as calm as possible in the hopes that he could de escalate DePape's furor. This is not the end of the road for DePape. He must also face a series of charges in state court now that the federal matter has been resolved. I really, really don't like this federal and state sort of punishment. And I think we've seen it a lot in political things. And right now it just seems overkill. But I understand. Look, I would be terrified if someone came in, but it's just to get him for both state and federal, I think is, in my opinion, not lawyerly. It definitely does seem like a double jeopardy thing. Now, I do want to say that a lot of, I believe, our America and one other court still practice double jeopardy. If you ask anyone in the UK, they will tell you double jeopardy is terrible and they have axed it. So there you go. It looks like he is also going to get told that he has to do that for other things. In semi-political news, but what the actual heck is going on here? It is 2024. RFK Jr. lists a voting address at his Westchester home, and that's in foreclosure, and neighbors have never seen him. So this comes from a long line of politicians having sort of a throwaway house in their district and one in Washington. I know, Zach, it's really weird. Where you could pay people to hold those items and not leave your patio unlocked. I mean, I don't know. Get a Ring doorbell, Nancy. And send me some of that ice cream for the love of all that is holy in a Sub-Zero refrigerator if possible. But here you go. It seems like politicians are going to politician no matter independent representative or for a Republican or Democrat, they're all going to politician. Presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has listed his residence to vote as a Tawny, Westchester County address, which is now in foreclosure proceedings for non-payment, court records show. The independent candidate claims his voting address, I'm not going to in Conneaut, though he is not the owner of the $1 million in arrears property, and it doesn't show up on residential searches for it, and some longtime neighbors and even local authorities were shocked at the notion that it was his home. I mean, if you're going to go full Bernie, claim all the houses. Quote, no, he doesn't live here, a local cop insisted Sunday. So, I mean, it seems like a really nice house, but if you're going to get it taken away. But RFK Jr. also has the same address listed as his residence on his presidential nomination petitions filed in New Hampshire in recent months, according to records which were obtained by the Post. A review of voting records shows that RFK Jr. voted in the primary or general elections using that New York address as recently as 2020, and in 2018, 16, 14, 13, 11, 10, and 08. He voted by mail during the thing we're not going to mention, using this address too. The legal owner of the property is Barbara Moss, a wife of a longtime RFK pal, Timothy Haydock, a Winchester doctor. Well, apparently he's doctoring stuff, but not, paying his bills. I mean, I know. 2024, you glorious, shining, crazy bastard. Keep doing this. And thank you, Zach. I will pass it on to Miss Yuma. I think the kitten wore himself out and he's probably asleep. But I'm definitely going to have to look for a camera that follows him around because he is much more nimble than Friberto was. Haddock and RFK Jr. served as best man at each other's wedding, and RFK is the godfather of Haddock's daughter. The U.S. Bank Trust Company filed foreclosure against Moss, an interior and exterior designer, in the state Supreme Court in March. She owes $46,106 plus interest. Good morning, Flash Fan. I hope you are doing well. I am doing okay. It is a Monday. So we are all off and Twitter pated. A settlement conference is scheduled for June the 7th. A mortgage foreclosure case has been started against you for the property located at that address. Do not ignore this notice or any court papers that you receive. You may lose your home. 9th District Judicial District Judge Ann Minihan said on April 26 notice to Moss. The Kennedy campaign insisted in a Sunday night statement that it is, in fact, his home address. He receives mail there. His driver's license is registered there. His automobile is registered there. He is Sir, are you bringing back the Kennedy, bootlegging thing? Because this seems all the shadiness. So if you're going back to great grandpa Joe and the, moonshine phase, I'm kind of for it. Just be all the politician you can be. And do push-ups because, it'd be nice to have. He also has his hunting, fishing, falconry, and wildlife rehabilitation licenses there. He pays rent to the owner, the campaign said. The statement went on to say that his law office in New York, and he pays taxes in the Empire State. Quote, his father was a senator from New York. New York has been his residence continuously since 1968, although he's frequently lived elsewhere. He's never claimed any other state as residency, the campaign said. He intends to move back to New York after his wife retires from acting. His wife is Cheryl Hines. I think she was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I could be wrong. I forget everything these days. Mr. Kennedy has lived in the town of Bedford continuously for 40 years. I don't know. This is Schrodinger's residency. How do you get to claim something where you're never there? This is 2024. I expect him to say that, he is living in Howl's Moving Castle by the end of this. Good morning, Publicly Buzz. But yeah, it makes no sense. How can you be... Look, I'm not a legalologist. I'm not a residencyologist. But if your behind does not sit there and collect all the Star Wars figures and keep them in that house, you don't live there. Let's see. When Mr. Kennedy announced his presidential candidacy, that landlord, worried about becoming embroiled in political controversy, asked Mr. Kennedy to find a different residence. Mr. Kennedy's best friend invited him to move to the current address, as he's been a frequent guest. Okay, yeah, but seriously, you're not paying that. You're gonna lose the house. You might want to rent an apartment there. I don't know if they have an Airbnb, Mr. Kennedy. I'm just saying. Since embarking on his presidential campaign, Mr. Kennedy has been constantly traveling in other states. During the 11 months since switching residency, he therefore has not had any occasion to stay at this new address, which explains why neighbors have never seen him. Kennedy's brother Doug told the Post on Sunday that his brother has lived on and off this address and has been friends with Haddock and Moss for some time. You think you'd tell your friend, though, like, hey, I know you're paying rent, but we're just not going to pay. I mean, we've got the whiteboard, so let's get this bustered. Also, Mo needs to start learning measurements because this was not the size of the whiteboard. But, okay, if you've got a house and you're paying your friend rent, but they are like, screw banks, and they're just going to put it in a pile under a thing. So how do you rent a foreclosed property? How do you do it? I don't know, but apparently one of our presidential candidates are doing stuff like that. because why not? It is 2024, and I say continue. If you are the owner of Rolex, a Rolex watch, you may be part of a growing money making idea. Secondhand Rolex sales surge in an undeveloped US market. I mean, possibly get all, hey, you know what? We could all crowdfund to get everyone in the Karen Reed trial a watch. Now, whether some of them can understand, hands versus digital, I don't know, but they seem to be all the confused when it comes to time. So I say everyone from the Karen Reed trial, secondhand Rolexes. As stocks continue to surge to all-time highs, demand in luxury watch market continues to steady after a boom and bust in 2021 and 2022, especially in the US. Watches of Switzerland and UK-based jeweler with growing retail presence in the US last week said its US sales are jumping to 14%. Okay, can I get sponsored by one of these people that apparently has enough money to blow on former other stuff? Yeah, I need to work on getting it zoomed in, and I'll probably have its own camera because I do have one over here. It's a Monday. Well, yeah, and I thought it was going to be bigger, but Mo doesn't do measurements. Mo just Amazons. So, as per usual, not the greatest at measuring. It seemed like it was going to be big, but it's not as big as I thought. So there you go. And shares of the watch company have grown and grown. Watches of Switzerland CEO Brian Duffy said that U.S. sales were particularly strong on a call with analysts, saying that the U.S. market is underdeveloped. So watch for your favorite rappers who may be in a RICO trial to try to sell their Rolexes. I don't know. Again, I'm over here thinking, have y'all bought eggs lately or bread? Because I'm a little confused as to how you have money to go buy a Rolex. Good morning, Slinky. So a key driver for the company has been Rolex sales, particularly from its certified pre-owned program. The company said total pre-owned and vintage revenue, including Rolex CPO, has doubled in the fourth fiscal quarter versus a year ago. Well, that's because people that are selling them are like, hey, I could get about, two rounds of groceries from this. And then the other person's like, I want to look rich. Let's get a watch. Upbeat results from watches from Switzerland come after continued softness in luxury watch prices. I did not know that we had an entire group of people that were, watching Rolexes to see how they grow. Oh my goodness. I did the Squab Bob, I did the Hobbit voice when the cats saw the other cats or saw Wilfred, because they were like, ew, it touched it. We don't like the precious. We hate it. But yeah, the other cats are kind of scared of Wilfred, which is interesting. But they also are doing what my oldest daughter did when I brought home had my middle daughter. It's like, if you are holding her, I don't know you. We haven't met. You don't go to my school. So it's going to take some time. But luxury watch prices peaked in 2022. I did not know that there was an entire group of people. Pre-owned watches are now watches of Switzerland's biggest category, including the certified pre-owned sales that help retailers alleviate a perpetual problem when it comes to Rolex sales supply. So yes, if you would like a Rolex, apparently their certified pre-owned, kind of thing is going to town. But it is, I don't think they're going to understand one with hands, especially the boyfriend that was in the Grimace outfit. He had a watch on, but he didn't understand time. So, it's, you win some, you lose some. In You win some, you lose some standards. We had 706 people named Kyle that got together in Texas, but it still wasn't enough for a world record. Kyles, you failed. Maybe you can get Karens and Kyles together and have a ridiculous rant meme. Look, I would be there for that. My name is neither Karen nor Kyle, but I would take all the pictures. It'd be like Gen Con for me. Uh, Kyle, Texas. How many people named Kyle can fit in one place? For one city in Texas, not enough. Another attempt by the city of Kyle, Texas, to break the world record for the largest gathering of people with one name fell short Saturday, despite the 706 Kyles of all ages that turned up at a park in the suburbs of Austin. The crown is currently held by a town in Bosnia that got 2,325 people named Ivan together in 2017. It's not the first time that the Kyles have come gunning for the Ivans. Last year, the official count became known as the Gathering of Kyles, clocked in 1,490 people in the fastest growing Texas city that's about 37 miles south of Austin, the state's capital. Kyle is not a chart topper among popular names in the US, according to Social Security Administration, which annually tracks the names given to boys and girls in each state. The most recent data showed Kyle ranked 416th among male names in 2023. By comparison, Ivan ranked 153rd. So there you go. We need Kenny. We need a Kenny thing. And AP. Did I not do that? I swear, I think I'm doing good with this new setup and I'm not. But apparently in Wisconsin, I know you guys are shocked seeing all the trials that we have seen, but apparently workers were someone planted the devil's lettuce in, the garden. I can't imagine who. And I can't imagine it happening in any other state than Wisconsin right now. Wisconsin, the Florida of the upper north. Someone planned to harvest dozens of apparent marijuana plants from the grounds of the Wisconsin state capitol, but they have gone up in smokes. The plants sprouted in a tulip garden outside the Capitol. Yes, all by themselves. They were like, you know what? This is a great place. We're landing here. You are telling me no one noticed the devil's lettuce plant? Everyone in Congress was so completely square and didn't even know what it was. They're like, a plant that gets you high-ish, we have never had that. To the S Ford that planted these plants, I salute you. Now, I hope you don't get tried in federal and state court. The plants sprouted in the tulip garden outside the Capitol, WMTV TV reported Thursday. Tatiana Warwick, a spokesperson for the State Department of Administration, ew, that sounds like a job that you would need the devil's lettuce for, told the Associated Press in an email that workers had removed the plants, but her agency couldn't determine if they were the devil's lettuce or hemp. But both are forms of cannabis, and only the devil's lettuce has a compound to get people, to awaken their inner eye and align their chakras, which is the only reason anyone would use that. I'm sure. Warwick did not respond to questions about how the plants might have made it into the garden. It's the devil's lettuce fairy. She comes around, she leaves Cheetos and Mountain Dew, and, she plants your plants for you. They're like, here, for the munchies, here's 94 granola bars and some, a Dairy Queen Blizzard and, some Cheetos. Every night you just leave some out and, it just goes, what in the actual hell is going on here? University of Wisconsin Madison botanist Shelby Ellison, who examined the plants for WMTV before they were moved, told the station that they were indeed the devil's lettuce and not hemp. But she told the Associated Press on Friday she couldn't for sure. Well, then she was like, "Well, I'm not certain either." She said there were a dozen plants in the garden, suggesting someone planted them intentionally. It's just a large number of plants for it to be anything accidental. Well, oh my God, it's like the White House. You just drop a thing of powder and out sprouts a bunch of devil's lettuce plants. Uh, the devil's lettuce remains illegal in all forms in Wisconsin. Assembly Republicans introduced a bill last session that would have legalized the devil's lettuce for medical purposes, but they couldn't muster support amongst their state Senate counterpart, and the measure never got a hearing. I mean, yeah, sometimes again, it's the devil's lettuce fairy. She comes in, she brings the seeds, you bring the munchies stuff, you lay it under your pillow, and out sprouts medical devil's lettuce. Y'all, I am the in other news, and sir, you are super guilty. And Snake Island, this is Snake Island material. He is going there. You do not, you do not, mess with children and then try to fake your own death. What the actual hell? 2024, you sparkling diamond, you shine on with your insanity. Quote, "We found you and you're not dead." An offender of the small ones faked his unaliving to avoid registering and was a little surprised when cops showed up years later, sheriff said. You're alive. Who knew? He resurrected himself. Is he the new Jesus? What's going on? An Arizona man, law enforcement said, faked his own death to avoid having to put his name on the register of Away from Children, has been caught. Benjamin Hollins, 50, was arrested last week at a home where he was living in Mesa, a suburb of Phoenix. Pineal County Sheriff's Mark Lamb said in a video posted to Facebook that Hollins is a repeat offender who took a unique approach to try to evade the law. Quote, "Okay, folks, this is wild. We might have to watch this. This looks amazing." The video began, "An offender fakes his own death to hide from us." I mean, swing and a miss. You miss 100% of the swings you don't take. Next time, make it real, sir. Allegedly in Minecraft, but seriously, you're an offender. You get your own island. That's enough. A Facebook post said that Hollins was convicted in California as an offender more than 20 years ago and moved to Arizona, where he failed to add his name to the new offender registry. In 2018, he got another charge when he reoffended, Lamb said, and he shouldn't even have been out. The sheriff's office said that while working as a behavioral health counselor, Collins was accused of, quote, "kidnapping and attempting to be really gross to a 16-year-old client." Just gross. Part of the punishment for that 2018 offense was supervised probation, Lamb says, and registering on the register every year in the Grand Canyon state. According to the sheriff, the registration never happened. In October, he had a woman help him fake his own death, Lamb explained on a video. She filed a police report that Benjamin jumped off a bridge at the Roosevelt Dam. Now, a lot of resources were wasted looking for his body, which was clearly not found because he wasn't dead. Sir, you did not even use a blow-up doll? Sir, if you're going to commit to being unalive, do it well. I mean, mold yourself, take up 3D printing. What is good? Okay. But once Benjamin, quote unquote, was dead, he did not register anymore, so the registration lapsed, Lamb continued, adding air quotes around "was dead" for emphasis. Lamb said that law enforcement continued to search for Hollins, however, and eventually tracked him to a home in Mesa. Lamb said that Hollins was living with his family and with children, and that family had no idea who he even was. Quote, he was a little surprised to see him, but I'm glad that our detectives and our deputy and Chandler PD worked hard because now he's going to be held accountable for his actions, Lamb added. This is Mr. Not Dead. I mean, Pineal County records show that Hollins has a hearing scheduled for Tuesday. A search of the registry in California did not show Hollins had even registered in that state. A search of Arizona registry said he was not even listed. So he is living with a family who has no idea. I mean, look, people do weird stuff with resin all the time. I'm just saying, put a mask on it, definitely, try. I mean, good Lord, even The Fugitive did a better job of pretending yeah, that's the other thing. Why are we letting him have a choice? No, you're automatically put on that. You don't get a choice as to whether you apply or don't. It's called you apply. You do not pass go. You do not, collect $100. In our final story, something at least a little good coming out of Canada. A Canadian man breaks the world record for Star Wars Lego set. Dave, I'm looking at you. I think the gauntlet has been thrown. The glove has been thrown. I think you need to make an entire Millennium Falcon. So there we go. Dave, your new mission, should you choose to accept. A Canadian man combined his love of Lego and Star Wars by building a 7,501-piece Millennium Falcon in a record-breaking time of 7 hours, 36 minutes, and 37 seconds. Ivan Yu of Markham, Ontario, earned a Guinness World Record for the fastest time to build the Lego Star Wars model, the 75192 Millennium Falcon. Quote, the actual building process was really fun, and I think Lego designers did a fantastic job of making this giant build an enjoyable process. Yu told Guinness World Records. Yu said he didn't really feel any fatigue when building the massive Lego spaceship. I really enjoyed Legos to begin with, so once I started this build, I was kind of locked in and in the zone, and before I knew it, I had 7.5 hours down, and it was over. So there you go. Well, Dave is not in the newsy news, but I think he definitely needs to try to beat this guy. We need a Millennium Falcon, build duel. We need to get him in. I don't know if it comes with figures. I know the Lord of the Rings one, which I want, the Rivendell one does come with with figures, but I also need to wait until I don't have, a smallish human and a smallish cat that will attack all of the, loose pieces. And in no world do I get 7 hours alone to do stuff. But there you go. That is what we did today. I could not find Captain Kern, but let me see if I spell it right, and that would work. Because, spelling and me are like not that we are frenemies. Okay, it is not showing Captain Kern, but everyone go watch Captain Kern. If one of the mods could put a link up, that would be awesome possum. And thank you guys for joining me this morning. I will be doing a sort of light grift stream, but mainly just going over the state's response to Scott Peterson's, wants to do more DNA testing. So we are going to be doing that at 1 until whatever time we finish. I might just roll, newsy news or nightly newsy news in it, but definitely it is a 337 page, just basically BDE, big lawyer energy. Even the table of contents is snark. So definitely be there. I think the prosecution, the state has absolutely no intention of letting Scott Peterson out. And it seems like they have a lot of information on him. But I wasn't really into trials when he was convicted. And I do want to see if there's some different things that I feel like, because I wasn't within the trial. Does the state have a solid case? And it looks like this 336-page thing will definitely help, see what the state has. And maybe Scott was just a douche, but not a unaliver. And there is the link to Captain Kearns. I hope you go over to them. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys around 1-ish. I've got to take middle daughter up to the surgeon to make sure that the MRI thing was clean. And, after that, we are going to do Scott Peterson. So have a lovely day, guys, and I will see you in a little bit. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and, sometimes sarcasm is our love language. Bye, guys.